I don't know if any of you saw or been paying attention to what has happened with DACA the past couple weeks, but as you have seen or saw on March 5th of this month, DACA legally and efficient and officially expired, which means whatever parameters that it created to protect the people who were directly affected by this legislation, they are no longer affected. Now, a federal judge blocked an executive order pushed through by President Trump in order to I can't remember exactly what that executive order was. I don't know if it was to do it definitely wasn't to do a mass deportation. That I do know. But it was to do something else. I think it was to like protect them from being deported. I don't know if it was sooner or later. I can't remember exactly what it was. I read about it, but I can't remember exactly what that federal judge said in his opinion. But regardless of him blocking DACA or blocking the expiration of DACA, that's beyond his control. If Congress, because Congress has the last say legislatively, they have the last word. And if they didn't pass legislation to keep DACA, to extend DACA, which they didn't do, then DACA recipients are susceptible for deportation, immediate deportation. And only if they become a citizen, that's the number one way to keep from being affected by DACA, or they become some type of resident alien, or they get a work visa. They are susceptible to being immediately deported, whether they're in college or not. Because I find it interesting. Don't you guys find it interesting that California, they nominated some Mexican chick, some lawyer, to some commission position within the state of California, and she is a undocumented immigrant. Do y'all find it? I find it interesting how somebody can be an attorney who probably makes at least six figures, and she doesn't have enough money. We're just saying hypothetically. Is it that she doesn't have enough money to hire a fellow attorney, an immigration attorney? Or is it that she is pretty much spitting on our Constitution by saying, "Hey, I know I'm an illegal immigrant, but I don't care. Yeah, I got a law school degree. Yeah, I passed the bar. I'm a practicing attorney. And she's been an attorney for 6, 7, 8 years. So it's not an issue, in my opinion, it's not an issue of somebody being ghetto or being ignorant or something like that. What I think it is, or just, I think it's a total disrespect for our country. Because how can an undocumented immigrant be hoisted up in the air like that and given a $150,000 a year job, probably more than that, if she's going to be over a sub agency within the state of California government? I find it interesting that these people want to whine about possibly being deported, but yet you're going to show allegiance to the country you tried to run away from. You see these people riding around. You see these people riding around with Mexican flags draped on their cars, Mexican flag stickers on their window, but yet they don't want to live there. And some of these people could live better in Mexico than they could over here. And Mexico is not a poor country. They just act like one. They have the 20th best economy in the world. They're not poor. Because their economy brings in more money. Their GDP is higher than Canada. And Canada only has 30 million people. So what are we really talking about here, people? What we're really talking about is smoke and mirrors. That's what we're really talking about here. And Nancy Pelosi and all these other phony Democrats, ain't none of these people stood up for these folks and put their neck on the line to create more legislation so that they can stay in the country. Obama deported more illegal aliens than Trump will ever deport. Never trust a man who tells you what he's going to do. Because 10 times out of 10, he ain't going to do nothing. Trump has said, oh, I'm going to build the wall. Oh, I'm going to throw these people out of here. Yeah, he's throwing them out. But he ain't throwing them out as fast as Obama was throwing them out. Obama didn't say a word, and he was deporting them folks like they were going out of style. And he wasn't just deporting criminals like the Department of Justice is doing. They're talking about, oh, we're going after MS-13 gang members. We're going after all the criminals first. In my opinion, they need to get rid of all of them. Why? Yeah, get rid of the criminals, the violent criminals. I say, yeah, get rid of them. But those are individual people here, there. You know what I'm saying? Those are individuals. It costs more money. It costs the federal taxpayer more money for them to go round up one person than it is to round up a group of people. We know that. You don't even have to take an accounting class to know that. So what's the end game? Remember how you guys get sick of me asking this. Hey, Ice, how can you always ask what's the end game? Because that is what's going to tell you what somebody's motives are. It's just like when you meet a woman and you get a frosty reception from her. And instead of making the determination that maybe this woman is not interested in me and doing an about face, you keep spitting at her. And finally, out of ignorance, you ask this woman for her phone number and she gives it to you. Not out of surrender, but because, again, today when a woman gives you her phone number, it means absolutely nothing. Because not only has she given you her number, she's given 6 or 7 other guys who did the same thing you did, trying to spit at her. She gave them her number as well. Now, does that mean that she's really interested in you? She's less than interested in you. Way less than interested. And that's why when you call this woman and she's like, well, who are you? Well, this is Tom, and you gave me your number earlier today. Like, where did I give you my number? When did I give you my number? Well, we were in front of the 150 office building over there on Seashore Street. And you were standing out front smoking a cigarette, and I walked up to you and I started talking to you. She probably still don't remember who you are because, again, she's not interested in you. And she wasn't interested in you when you said something to her. And then she plays like, oh, yeah, I remember you, when she really doesn't. You throw your world-class spitting she agrees to meet you for dinner. Even though she's not interested in you. And she shows up, you sit down, and after both of you order your food, you say to her, what's the end game? Because now you've grown a brain and now you realize the error of your ways. And you pose that question to her. What's the end game of you being here, you sitting across from me tonight? She's going to look across the table at you and she's going to be perplexed. She's going to be like, what kind of question is that? What are you talking about? And then you ask her again, hey, look, I really don't think you're interested in me based on our conversation. But I asked you to go out to dinner because I was thinking maybe once you sat down and saw how great of a guy I am, you'd suddenly become interested in me. And she's gonna, because most women are operating from an ego, she's gonna look back at you and say, what are you talking about? And so you ask her one more time, you say, well, what is the end game of you showing up tonight? Well, she's going to say, well, you did ask me, and I thought I'd show up. Right there, you've been given your answer. Her end game is to show up, get a free dinner, and leave. There you have it. That's your end game. And just like in real life dating, most of you guys will hear that and still think you got a chance. And this woman has finally answered your question. Maybe she didn't give you the answer you were looking for, but she gave you a very honest answer. Although she didn't give you a totally honest answer like, well, I just see you as a trick and I just thought I'd show up for free food and never see you again and never talk to you again. But you ain't man enough to hear that. 99% of you guys ain't man enough to hear that. Because that would break your heart and probably make you go home and kill yourself. What's the end game? What is the end game for this DACA business? Do these people really want to hear the truth? I just gave you a dating analogy. Do these people really want to hear the truth? I don't think they do. Because right now, Central Americans and Mexicans are the political football of the federal government in some states. And all they're using them for is free labor. They need them to build these buildings and they need them to build these houses, these residential homes, because they know if they got to pay American Caucasian males, American black males, and American Latino born males, they know they're going to have to pay some real cash. They're going to have to break off a chunk. And they know this. Although they probably get better work out of American born men than they do these illegals. See, you have to understand something. If there's an action, there's a reaction. If there's a solution to something, there's always going to be a side effect with that solution. We no longer have slavery, so we can't make these black people build anything for free anymore. So what we'll do to usurp the black population, we'll bring in these illegals. And they let in so many of them now, half of them that come over here will just want to work or start a business or do something and go home and mind their own business. Some of them are very good neighbors. Some of them won't have their kids won't be out there vandalizing people's cars. Their kids won't be out there kicking other neighbors' doors and running or doing all this kind of stuff or running their mouths to the kids that in the neighborhood whose families have already lived there for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Their kids will be some of them, their kids are well behaved. And not just because they whoop their kids behind. Because some of them do whoop their kids. I see them. I see some of their mamas out there whooping them. But that's very rare. Most of them don't do anything but sit in the house and then have teenage kids running around the neighborhood terrorizing everybody until somebody get with them. Till they get killed by one of their own, or they get scooped up into that gang culture, or they get on drugs or something, or these white police get to them. Then they talk about, oh, poor me Dios, oh, poor me Dios. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Trump ain't gonna do nothing. Because it costs millions and millions of dollars to deport all these people. And you have to understand, the white males who live in states like Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, West Virginia, some of the other southern states, they are the main ones who've been complaining about these guys taking their jobs, or these school districts being overrun by a bunch of illegals and their children. And these little white school districts in the Midwest, especially places like Nebraska, in some of these districts, probably 10 years ago, they didn't have any teachers other than maybe one or two teachers at the high school level that taught Spanish. Now they gotta hire ESL teachers. They gotta hire resource teachers that float from classroom to classroom, or they take small groups. Sometimes these school districts have to pay money to go get extra interpreters to come in there and teach these parents how to speak English, because some of them do want to learn how to speak English. Some of them do want to assimilate. 99% of them don't. They just want to come over here and grab a piece of the American dream and then send all the proceeds back down there to El Salvador or one of these other Central American countries and Mexico and help build their economy. I remember one time I was talking to a young Mexican dude up in Minnesota. He was telling me that all his dad and granddad have been doing over the last 20 or 30 years was sending a bunch of money to Mexico. He said they got a mansion down there. He said, man, we got a 2-story, like 3,000 square foot house down there. And he was talking about how the people who live in that little town where their house is can't stand them. They can't stand them. But they had to pay them to help build that house. And I think they got a couple relatives living in it so it don't get overrun by them people in that town. Mexico has plenty of money. We ain't got no business subsidizing their economy. And they're not subsidizing ours. They were talking about how the money that flows from Mexico back over here is minuscule compared to the money flowing back down there to the tune of $29 billion, which was what it was before Obama got in office. It went down to about 20 billion when by the time Obama's tenure was up in the White House. So the money got cut off, start getting cut off because of Obama. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I was in Arizona when Obama beat Bush. Okay, I was in Phoenix then. And all of them illegals, I remember I was in the athletic club. I had just got done working out. And they were showing the election on the monitors. And all of these illegals that were in the lobby, it was a bunch of them in the lobby. And when they said that Obama had beat Bush, that Obama had beat John McCain. When Obama beat John McCain in that first election, his first election, they started cussing and fussing and talking crazy. Oh, they went off. They were going off. They were like, coño. Oh, they was just cussing up a storm. Pinche mi yata. Pinche mi mayate. They were going off. They were like, pobre Dios. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? And I was doing the Cabbage Patch. I was doing the Roger Rabbit. I was doing the Roger Rabbit, the Cabbage Patch, right in front of them. Oh, they were looking at me with daggers coming out their eyes because they knew Bush was in office for 8 years and he didn't do anything about immigration, and that's what they wanted. They wanted a president who wasn't going to do anything. Even though a few Latinos did vote for Obama the first time, and it was only a few. They didn't really vote for him. They voted for McCain. Most of the Latinos that voted in America, most of them voted for McCain. Because they knew they didn't know, at the time, nobody knew what Obama was going to do. He was a wild card. Nobody knew what he was going to do. But after about 2 or 3 months in office, you realize he wasn't going to do anything about anything that was policy important to black people. And then when Obama ran against Mitt Romney, when he ran against Mitt Romney for the 2012 election, what was interesting is that with the popular vote, keyword popular, the popular vote this time around, I don't know, I think Latinos just didn't like Mitt Romney. Overwhelmingly, they voted for Obama for his last 4 years in the White House. I thought that was pretty interesting. And Obama, behind their back, even though he did put DACA through, and although they put a couple other pieces of legislation through, and I talked about this on my show back 5 or 6 years ago. You could scroll down and you might be able to find that particular show. He was deporting them like crazy. Oh, he was deporting them like crazy. And I used to listen to NPR Texas, which is, NPR is the nonprofit corporation that owns all of the state's different NPR affiliates. Texas was talking about, they were in Texas, the big stink was, Obama saying one thing in front of our faces and got that other hand. Remember I talked about that unseen hand that's behind the back? He was waving to him with one hand, and then behind his back, he was stabbing them in the back, throwing them out of this country. And yeah, he was going after the criminals first, but he was also going after people who weren't necessarily criminals. Cause I got a cousin married to did a sham marriage with some old Mexican chick. He speaks Spanish. He got a degree in Spanish and all this kind of stuff. It's a long story. But anyway, he married this chick. He used to mess with her, and then they stopped messing around. They actually can't really stand each other. But the kids only know him as their father. Now, the 2 girls that she got, their dad ran off. See, that's why I be like, they talk a lot about black men this, black men that, but according to a study with the CDC, black men are the most involved parents of all the other men. I remember one time my daughter was born. My daughter's the oldest. And me and my ex-wife had went to Aunt Kiz's back porch in Marina Del Rey out there in LA, in California. And I took my daughter we had one of those car seats. She was in the baby seat. I took her to the bathroom and changed the diaper and brought her back. And all of the black people that were sitting around at tables around us were saying, "Oh, that's great that he's involved in this, that, and the other." And that's what black men do. Black men are the most engaged parents on this planet. Okay? What I see from a lot of these other men, let me tell you something. A white man and a Mexican man will run off and leave their family in a minute. Okay? The difference is with black men, a lot of situations with black men and black women, is that these black men and black women were never together. So you can't run off and leave somebody you weren't with in the first place. But the end game is what you should always focus on. We don't care about symbolism. Like they just had this March for Life or whatever protests all over the country. Do you really think that's scaring Congress? Do you really think that's scaring Trump? No, that's not scaring Trump, and it's not scaring Congress. It's not going to scare them into doing anything about these illegal aliens. It's just like this one lawyer, immigration lawyer, said on TV. He said, "Look, the purpose of our immigration laws is to keep the people we don't want out and the people we do want in. And if you cross into our country, you have committed a felony. And it's a law." And not only is it a federal law, our Constitution talks about people coming into this country as aliens. They don't want to talk about that. So not only is it a constitutional issue, it's also a criminal issue. And they ought to give all these people who have crossed into our country illegally, they need to give all of them a felony on their record. Even if they came over here as a baby, they should give them a felony. See, a lot of you guys are too young to remember, but we had a similar immigration issue back when Reagan was president. And how Reagan handled it, he just gave them across the board amnesty. And boy, did all the white supremacists here in America get angry. Oh, they got hella angry. That's why you notice, if you notice with these Republican congressmen, congressmen, these Republican, congressmen too, but with these Republican senators, especially the ones that are from deep South states, what do you hear them saying? If any of these news people interview them, what do they say? We're not going to have an amnesty issue like we did back in the 80s when Reagan was president. We're not going to have we're not giving them amnesty. See, the Democrats are using these illegals as a political football so that they can get their midterm number of Democratic seats up. That's why Nancy Pelosi and all these other little phony Democrats or dummycrats are running around now trying to act like they love illegal aliens. And just like and somebody sent me an email and they asked me, what did they ask me? Somebody sent me an email and asked me, how come all of these nuns and priests and reverends at some of these churches are trying to hide these illegals? Let me explain why that is. Let me tell you something. These white ministers don't care nothing about these illegals. The only reason why they're doing that is because a lot of the, because I've seen it in Texas. Okay, I've seen it in Texas. A lot of these illegals, a lot of them go to these white churches. And they'll go to these white churches and they'll be putting their money in, even though they're Catholics. They'll go to these churches because they're trying to get some kind of influence. They're trying to get some kind of help. And according to a study I read online, the Catholic Church, their core customer is these illegals or Latinos. Not American Latinos, but these illegals. And obviously, these folks, even though they're poor, when they come in church, they'll put some money in there because that's what they're used to. So when they come in these churches, even though they might not have that much money, they'll still put $5, $10 in the offering plate. Because that's what the Reverend wants to have happen anyway. Is to get you into that seat so you give him some money or her some money. They don't necessarily care nothing about you. So the Catholic Church, they're financially dependent on these illegals, just like some of these denominational churches and some of these non-denominational churches, especially the ones that are small. Some of these churches are not that big. So if you get an influx of 30 or 40 illegal aliens coming in to your church service, all of a sudden you're going to get somebody that's, you're going to hire a Spanish-speaking minister to go, and maybe at the back of the church where you got maybe 20 or 30 seats back there, you'll have him do the Spanish language service back there. Almost all the big churches in San Antonio have a Spanish language service. It's either on Sunday or it's on another day during the week. Because there's money in people coming up into the church. Remember, you're trying to get the money from your core customer. So you got all these reverends, we're going to hire some illegal aliens. Like the police and ICE ain't going to come up in there and get them. And it's so funny when they do these expose stories on these illegals who've been deported and are living in Mexico or El Salvador or wherever it is they from, or Nicaragua or wherever they from. It's hilarious because it's funny to me. Like the last one I read was on Yahoo News. There was this big fat Mexican dude. He was probably the last big case that they had on the news. You know, he's an illegal, but his wife is an American citizen. And she on TV speaking in Spanish like she don't know how to speak English. And his kids are American citizens. She's an American citizen, but he isn't. And he said he was brought over here when he was like 4 or 5 years old. Not my problem. And they were talking to him, and his parents and his family are from a small town right outside of Mexico City. So we're talking thousands of miles, south of San Antonio. And he's like, man, I feel like a fish out of water. I don't know. I really don't know the culture. He said it's a culture shock for me. I go from having, a 32-inch flat screen TV He said, I live, here, we only got one TV now. He has to live with his aunt. And he's like 36, 37 years old. He ain't no spring chicken. And so they was talking to him, and he just sounds like such a dummy. Because he was like, yeah, I speak Spanish, but they treat me like an outsider. And he said, all I do is sit around all day in my aunt's house. I can't, he said, there's no work. He said, man, this is messed up. But see, dude, I don't feel sorry for you. First of all, I don't feel sorry for you because you're not a black man. The second reason why I don't feel sorry for you is because I thought y'all loved Mexico. I guarantee this guy probably had a Viva El Mexico sticker on his, I love Mexico sticker on his back window of his car. But now that he got to go live in the country he claimed he loved, he don't like it because you don't have the same conveniences in foreign countries that you have in America. I mean, think about it. Most of us walk out the front door, you're probably staring at some form of a store that sells food, at least nothing. If nothing else, they sell water and liquor and beer and soda. So it's convenient to live in America. You can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning in America and go get a cheeseburger at Burger King or Carl's Jr. or one of these other fast food places. Not all of them. You get a nasty mystery meat taco from Taco Bell at 3:30 in the morning. You can't do that nowhere else. Maybe Canada. But Canada ain't nothing but U.S. North. Canada is just a cleaner version of America. But they got a lot of white supremacists up there. That's why I say, hey, ain't nowhere, the black man, there's nowhere you can go to find friends. Nowhere. Nowhere on this earth that's going to protect your interests. And that's why I urge all of these brothers, all y'all to be on YouTube, running your mouths, not actually helping black people do anything. This is the situation that we have backed ourselves into, where we have no friends and no allies. And until we start creating an economic base where if something happens to one of you guys, maybe I can come help you. If you email me and say, hey, Ice, man, dude, there's some things happening, here where I am. Dude, I need your help. Here's my phone number. Call me. I'm about to get sent to prison for a humbug. And I got a public pretender who's trying to pretend to be a defense attorney, and he telling me to plead guilty. Man, I didn't do it. If we got an economic base and people are consistently donating money to my nonprofit, then I can go fly down there to where you're at and try to help you out, and try to get you a real attorney. But I can't do that with $20. I can't do that off of $10. Every year I tell you guys, hey man, can you guys donate some money so we can buy these black kids jackets and book bags and stuff like that? I might get 3 guys to donate some money, and the total amount, it'll maybe come to $50. How many black people do you think I can help with $50? How many? I've already proven to you my nonprofit is a legal business entity. I'm not faking the funk. You can look up my paperwork on irs.gov and go and search my nonprofit on the irs.gov website, and it'll come up. It'll come up. But instead of helping each other, we just sit around and complain or just talk about each other, which is a sign of fear. Because again, we all can sit up here and look at these symbolic, all this symbolism, like these people meeting, talking about protesting, talking about let's get gun control. All these little white kids just running their mouth trying to sound like they badasses. Man, dude, I don't listen to none of that nonsense, man. They so bad they ain't getting nothing done, because at the end of the, you know what? Well, all these thousands of people around the country meeting in their respective city, they all could have stayed home if they asked the question, what's the end game? What is this going to accomplish? Because protesting and marching does nothing. Remember the Occupy Wall Street movement? All it was an excuse for all these grungy, grimy looking, under 30 Caucasian people getting together under tents, having sex, smoking dope, getting high. That's all it was. Did they shut down Wall Street? No, because that wasn't the end game. It was just symbolism. And symbolism is not action. Talk is cheap. When you guys, like some idiot gonna sit up here and talk about, man, I'm sick and tired of you talking about white males raping black women and all this kind of stuff, and you just exaggerate. No, it's not an exaggeration, because I lived through that era. How you gonna tell me what I didn't see with my own two eyes? How you gonna tell me what I didn't hear from my dad and other older black men? That this kind of stuff happened. And it continued to happen on into the 80s. When I went to school with whites, we gave them that work. Whenever they used the N-word, we gave them that work. Sometimes they'd even call us the N-word, and we still gave them that work. Today, you guys want to wear skinny jeans, walk around with makeup. I've seen young brothers walking around here doing stuff to their eyebrows. That's what women do. Walking around with their hair dyed. That ain't stuff that real men do. I could see if you was a performer, if you was some type of performer, I could see that. If you were a singer, yeah, I could see that. But if you just a regular dude, and you doing that, that's the kind of stuff females do to get attention. So it's obvious you don't understand what manhood is. And you don't want a historical reference of the white supremacy we have experienced. Because just like a lot of you have said to me in email and even posting comments under videos, what do y'all say? Oh man, why do we need to know about what happened 100 years ago so it doesn't repeat itself? That's why. Because you guys want to run around here. I'm not saying that some of these Caucasian friends of yours aren't your friends, but I'm going to tell you right now, if it ever comes to a situation where white supremacy rears its ugly head, and they have to pick a side, they're not going to choose your side. I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've seen black women and white women hanging out together that work together, and as when something at work went down where the black woman experienced some white supremacy and racism, and she tried to get her little white friends to come to HR and give a statement, they were like, oh, no. They wouldn't even go to bat for them. And because this black woman shunned all her black co-workers, none of them went to bat for her. Then she gonna come around, hey, can I get y'all to, can you come up to HR and let them know that I was a good worker and I was easy to get along with? I'm like, I don't really know you like that. You know, you wouldn't even speak to me when I said hi to you. Don't come around here asking for our help now. Sorry. Por 22. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? No hay. Go over there and ask Julio Iglesias for some help. But them white girls wouldn't even go to bat for that system. And that's what happens in real life, outside the corporations. What happens inside and outside. They're not going to go to bat for you. I don't care how much you dye your hair. I don't care how white you sound when you talk. I don't care how tight your skinny jeans are. I don't care how moist you are. They still see you as an end. And they're never going to see you outside of those confines of you being that in their minds. Yeah, they'll hee ha ha. See, the problem with a lot of young black men and women is you guys can't fathom betrayal from Caucasian people. You can't fathom. You can't fathom it. And when it does hit you, you're outraged. You're on TV crying. You're online crying and looking crazy because your white friends didn't stick up for you, or they one day decided to go full white supremacy on you and decided to, all three of those white girls decided to kick your behind, and they caught you slipping. So and plus, you got black kids growing up today who don't even know how to fight. You got black kids I've read, I don't know how many stories of 8, 9, and 10-year-old black kids killing themselves because some white kids whooped their behind at school. When I was growing up, white kids did not do any of that stuff. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, white kids, it was never any instances where a black kid had a rope put around their neck at school, or some type of string or whatever, where they were trying to actually darn near try to hang some of these kids. I know this happened in Idaho last year. Or the year before last, some half black kid, they almost lynched this kid. That kind of stuff didn't happen when I was growing up because they knew better. Because they understood what? The end game. If I do A, B is going to happen. So them white kids knew better not to step to us like that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when I was in school, if one white dude said the N-word, 3, 4, 5, 6 black kids, including the girls, jumped on his behind. And some of them white kids got sent to the hospital. The ambulance pulled right on the school grounds and had to scoop this kid up. Because he couldn't get up off the ground because his head was split open. We didn't play back then, dog. And we didn't go to jail. They didn't go around to every classroom looking for kids because they didn't know who did it. You know, back then on school campuses, there were no cameras. So if you whoop somebody down, that was it. They wasn't stupid enough to go to the office and say, yeah, Melvin and Tyrone and the Iceman, they beat me up. No, they didn't do that. Now, they might do that now. But at least back then, them little white kids say, hey, I'm just going to take one for teen white supremacy. Okay? Bob and Dios. Okay? Get on out of here with that, man. Oh, we didn't play that. And even some of the guys I went to college with back in the 80s, man, they was like, man, we didn't put up with that kind of stuff, man. We didn't put up with that. It was always black first. We didn't use the N-word in front of the white kids. We just had our language that we use, our vernacular that we used around each other. When we got around them white kids, you didn't hear none of that. Because we didn't want them knowing what about our culture and about us. We used to put that bubble around us. Whereas you don't have that today. You black kids will be in this, in that with the white kids. And the kids will be saying in this, in that back to you. And I'm sitting there looking at this kind of stuff and I'm like, it wouldn't have been like that when I was a kid. Because I've been a substitute teacher when I was in grad school the first time. And I've been in schools where the little white kids are coming to class, well, in this and in that. And then they look over there and see me. And I'm looking at them like, I'm just giving them that look. You know what that look mean. God, those of you who are my age, you know what that look mean. That's the look your grandmama gave you when she was about to tear that behind her. Okay? And I give them that look. And they look at me and they go, they'll sit down in their seat. They don't have nothing else to say. I don't say nothing to them either. Because my look told them enough. And the ones that will come in the classroom and still keep saying that kind of stuff, I'd say, hey, my name is Mr. Iceman. I'm your sub for the day. I said, and I walk over to every last one of those Caucasian children, and I walk up to them, and I say, you do not, I repeat, you do not use that language when you talk to these other black kids. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You don't call them that. Because they go Nigger, not Nigga like what we say. And I didn't care if that school didn't call me back. I didn't care. And them little white kids looked like they were going to cry. Because I walked right up to them, looking right in the eye. I said, don't you ever say that to another black person. Do you understand that? And then I go to the black kids and I just give them that look like, why? And then I'd say to them, why are you letting one of these kids call you that word? And the black kids will be in tears. Because nobody ever said nothing like that to them. It's usually the girls that start crying. The black girls will start crying. The black boys will be like, they'll kind of sit there with that, with that look like their wheels are turning. So let me tell you something. We are not in an age where you can go and call black people that word. Don't ever use that word again. And then I start teaching. Okay? I put the fear of God in them white children. And I didn't have to put my hands on them. I didn't have to put my hands on them. Because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But I said something to them. Because I'm not a coward. I stand up for my... Look, there's times when you have to stand up as a black man. And 99% of you guys that listen to my show, you're not going to stand up for black people. The reason why I know you're not is because you come on YouTube expecting a free entertainment experience. And when you can't have it, you go somewhere else. YouTube has gotten to the point, and I'm going to get off get off the subject for a minute. I'm going to talk about this because I've been wanting to talk about this for a minute. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but I will tell you this. A lot of record companies have bought shares of Google to dictate what happens on YouTube. A lot of entertainment companies have invested money. Number one, Universal. That's why if any of you guys post videos on your channel that have anything with Dr. Dre's music or Kendrick Lamar or anybody like that, I guarantee that warning, you're going to get that warning email. That's going to tell you that, hey, would you like to take this off the intro of your video, or would you like to just re-record that whole video? Because they ain't playing with you. Yeah, you can. There's a federal law where you can use fair use, but the only problem is you'd have to use editing software to put that on there and all that kind of stuff. And most people ain't gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it because y'all not paying me to do it. YouTube in the next 2 or 3 years is gonna be pay-per-view. I guarantee it. Because it's almost there right now. And I'm not talking about YouTube Red. I'm talking about regular YouTube going forward. I'm telling y'all right now, the days of you just being able to come on YouTube and look at free content, those days are going to be over very soon. That's why I'm going to set up a Patreon account, because I'm getting tired of YouTube. They play too many games. They're always censoring every video I put up. I've seen videos where they monetize the video and then turn back around and demonetize it. And I wasn't even cursing in the video, and they did that. So much for free speech, huh? So you gotta understand the end game. Yeah, we have the First Amendment and it's the free press and free speech. But what's the end game, people? The end game is YouTube's gonna censor you, Facebook's gonna censor you, and any other white-owned platform, they're gonna censor black people. I don't know how many black people that I've talked to, even regular people, who have been put in Facebook jail for a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks for posting something admonishing white supremacy. Just for talking about white supremacy. Because some white supremacist troll who probably has a black pic up on their profile pic, and then they'll use some 1970s, name like Tyrone Biggs or something like that. They'll use, they usually go and use exaggerated black names, and then you think you're talking to a black person, and it's some white supremacist troll. I've had a couple of people who have revealed themselves here on YouTube to me over the years. But YouTube is starting to get the games that the censorship games that they've been playing over the years is starting to get old. And we have a mentality that everything is supposed to be free. But you're willing to pay your rent money for something that Caucasian people are selling 2 blocks down the street. You'll spend your whole rent check on that. But if somebody like myself or anybody else that's on YouTube that's doing something outside of YouTube, but just using YouTube as somewhat of a vehicle to get, as a delivery vehicle to get the message across, you won't even support us with your dollars. Let me explain something to you. If YouTube or any other platform online, if they didn't get advertisers, YouTube would have been went out of business. Because if I didn't start getting on YouTube till 2007. YouTube been out since what, 1998, 99, 2000? Wasn't hardly nobody on there. And they probably weren't making any money. Because even back in 2007, I don't remember a whole bunch of ads on YouTube. They didn't have a whole bunch of ads on YouTube. Matter of fact, they didn't have ads at all. Not on the, starting, beginning of the video or middle of the video or at the end of the video. They didn't have all those ads. They had them in, little menu bars above the video. That's where they sold advertising. But they're trying to monetize. And you can't monetize anything when you got a bunch of freeloaders. So many of our people are freeloaders. Why you always selling your book? Why you always, talking about the services you offer on AskTheIceman.com? Because that's how I pay myself. Because some of these videos take a lot of research and a lot of time. And you should have enough self-respect as a black person to say, hey man, I don't have a whole lot of money, but I'm going to support your cause. But you have to understand, giving $10 one time in a whole year of 2018 is not going to help a movement get started. That's something we don't understand. Some of my biggest individual donors are non-black people. Did y'all know that? I actually wasn't even going to never admit that. I've had people, non-black people, send me emails and say, Ice, I love you. Even though you're about black empowerment, I still feel like you're talking to me. Because some of the stuff you talk about, I've experienced it as a non-black, non-Caucasian person. And I support you, what you're saying, because you're true to the game. Here's $100. Here's $50. And they don't ask for anything in return. That's support, people. And that's the support I don't get from you as a black person. You should be the number one person as a black person helping another black entrepreneur. You should have enough self-respect to say, hey, Ice, I'm not going to let a non-black person be your number one donor. But I got non-black people that break me off support, financial support. They donate way more money than all black folks that have donated to me combined. That's embarrassing. You ought to be embarrassed. As a so-called self-respecting black man or woman, you should be embarrassed that a non-black person is out donating you. That a non-black person thinks more of the Iceman show and understands that monetizing the Iceman show is how you keep it afloat. And while you're sitting there talking that same po-Negro nonsense about how me and everybody else ought to help you for free, these other races of people understand monetization and they're cutting checks while you're sitting there smoking weed looking for a free laugh. You ought to feel ashamed of yourself or ashamed of yourselves. When I lived in San Antonio, one thing I noticed, even with the immigrant communities around San Antonio, when something happened, they financially mobilized. They would put their nickels together and they fought the best way they could. That's the one thing I noticed about them. Even they don't make half the money half you guys make. Some of you guys got good jobs and you won't donate a nickel. But you'll give the American Red Cross some of your money though. At work, here you know, you're in front of all the white folks. You're like, hey y'all, Caucasian co-workers. Hey, I'm writing a check for $300 to the American Red Cross. Just so you can get patted on the head and be given some butter biscuits with bacon in the middle. But then you get on YouTube and you sitting up here sending me messages talking about, hey man, I only listen to the first 10 minutes of this video because, man, you ain't talking about nothing, man. I get tired of you talking about what happened back in the 50s and the 60s and all this kind of stuff. Don't nobody want, we young folks don't want to hear that. But yet I'll be the first one you send an email to if you got in a jam, because all your white friends will ignore you. Hey Bob, help get me out of jail. I don't help get Negroes out of jail. I don't do that. That's not, I don't do that. But then you think, hey, the Iceman will help me. But when you reach out to me, I'm going to think about that time you told me that I should give you something for free. So when you ask me for help, I'm going to remember that time you sent me an email and you told me that talking about the racism and the white supremacy, violence and evilness that we have experienced up to this day, that you don't want to hear it. I'm going to remember that. That's a shame. It's a shame, man. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourselves. I really don't think I don't think we're ready for a economic revolution. Do you? I don't think we're ready. Because most of y'all wouldn't support it with your money anyway. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to this DACA situation, bye. They can't kick them out fast enough. I'm looking on TV, had all these black kids out there at these gun control rallies and at some of these DACA rallies. Or because there was some DACA rallies that were happening around the 4th and the 5th of the month because they knew that legislation was going to expire. And I see all these coons and mammies out there. My question to you is, how many of those of your Latino and Hispanic brethren are going to march for you if you get shot down by one of these racist police officers? I wonder how many of them are going to be out there, because I know all the rallies we had for Michael Brown and Ferguson and Trayvon Martin, there was not one Latino there, but you out there caping for them. Again, when Trump starts rounding these folks up, the only thing I'm going to say is, bye. They couldn't kick you people out fast enough. I'm going to ask this question again. Are you ready for an economic revolution? Are you? Because an economic revolution demands what? It demands monetary commitment from all of us, not just you, but me as well. And it also demands an end game on what we're going to do with the money. I remember they were interviewing Minister Farrakhan, and those of you who weren't born in 1995 when they had the original Million Man March, I didn't go. And actually, I'm glad I didn't go. But I'm going to keep my reasons to myself. Anyway, at the Million Man March, Farrakhan had them passing instruments around, receptacles, and they was telling people to put the money in there. And they collected hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the journalist asked Minister Farrakhan, they said, well, Mr. Farrakhan, you know, I have to call you out about this. We have to call you out on this. What happened to the money y'all collected at the Million Man March? And Farrakhan didn't miss a beat. He said, look, he said, I am guilty of not setting up an end game as to what we were going to do with the money after we collected it. Because I don't remember them asking him what they did with the money. They just asked him what happened to the money. Sounds like a similar question, but it's not the same. They're like, what did you guys do with the what you guys do with all that money you collected? And he gave, to me, in my opinion, he gave a indirect answer that really didn't answer the question. Because I was sitting there, myself sitting there saying, hey, where did the money go? Because y'all collected a lot of money. Because Farrakhan was like, we're gonna collect this money and we're gonna go ahead and give and use this money to take care of our brothers. But even if they had collected $500,000, that ain't enough to get us out of economic bondage. But his answer was, we didn't put a mechanism in place to do something with the money. And as a result of that, nothing was done. But I guarantee, I know what he said. He said some of the money was used to pay for some of the services that were required for the march. That's what it was. Because they did this, when I saw this interview was years ago. But what he said was, we used some of the money to pay for services that were incurred due to the march. Let me explain something to you. Marches, protests, and marches don't do anything but give you sore feet. That's it. If you want to go out here and march for nothing, go ahead. But the only thing you're going to get from marching is sore feet and holes in your shoes. And your feet requiring a foot massage. Can you dig it? I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready for economic revolution? And if so, what's the end game? I'm going to pose that hypothetical question to you. Did you guys see the footage of Congresswoman Maxine Waters? Now, those of you who don't know, Congresswoman Maxine Waters is a congresswoman that represents a pretty much all black district that stretches from West LA, parts of West LA, down to South Central LA. And Maxine Waters has been the congresswoman of that district, because I used to live in that district at one point in time. She's been the congresswoman of that district since a little bit after I graduated from high school. That's how long she's been in office. I believe she's been a congresswoman in that district for, it's definitely over 20 years, but I think it might be 30 years that she's been and the neighborhood still look the same. Even if she's only been congresswoman for 20 years, since the 90s, it looks the same. No community should look the same, especially if it's in a low middle class area like that area. Yeah, a few Hispanics have moved in, but for the most part, it's still a pretty much all black community. Did y'all see the footage of this woman? And I guess this is something that just happened recently. There was a town hall, and somebody asked, a brother asked Congresswoman Waters if they were going to do something about reparations for blacks. And Maxine Waters stood up and said yes. But then there was a but. And guess what the but was? She said, yes, but we got to get a Democratic majority in Congress, and we're going to have to get I think she said something about getting a Democratic president, I think. But I think she said, if I'm paraphrasing correctly, I think she said something along the lines of, we need to get a Democratic majority in Congress. You see how they deal with us? We get lip service. We get lip service. We don't get any action. We don't get the end game. What we get is symbology and talking. And remember, symbolism and talking is cheap. What I want to know is, when you going to cut that check? That's what I want to know. After 400 and something years, almost 500 years of subjugation and violence and tyranny toward my people, Sam needs to cut that check. Let me explain something to you. If veterans tolerated the crap that black people tolerate from Congress, I guarantee all these millions of veterans, especially the younger ones, would be standing in front of the White House and in front of Congress armed, ready and taking action if Congress played the same games with our money, us veterans, that we allow Congress and the presidency to play with us. There would be blood in the street. There'd be a whole bunch of veterans going to prison. They did it once before, where they marched on Washington back after World War I, which is why veterans get benefits today, because these guys will come back. These white guys will come back from World War I, and they didn't give them anything, and some of these guys came back injured. If nothing else, they came back with PTSD. And they were like, oh, the war, they call it the War Department back then. They didn't give them nothing. And then all them veterans went to D.C. and said, hey, wait a minute, you need to cut us a check. Uncle Sam need to cut us a check. You're not going, let me explain to you, black. I'm going to say this again. And I know a lot of black people get mad when I say this. I'm going to say this again. Voting never got a class of people, a group of people, a class of people out of poverty. Let me say that again. You can vote all you want to for your congressman. You can vote all. It don't matter whether your congressman or woman is a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. You are still going to be in the same position because you require nothing. You'll give a black candidate your vote in exchange for no promises, nothing. That's why Obama got up there and he felt like, hey, I don't need to do nothing for black people other than to criticize black people, telling black men to pull their pants up. That's why Bill Cosby got in trouble. You sitting on $400 million, and don't get me wrong, Bill Cosby has helped a lot of people, a lot of black folks. He done helped a lot of black people inside and outside of the entertainment industry. But the problem with guys like Bill Cosby is while Bill Cosby might donate $20 million to Spelman, he won't take any money and go and maybe pay off, 100 brothers who are behind in their child support. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of stuff that makes you a star in the eyes of black people, not giving Spelman $20 million. Spelman ain't no black owned institution. The Standard Oil, Rockefeller put up the money for Spelman. Spelman ain't no black school. Oh yeah, it looked like it's black on the outside, but the school is owned by the Rockefeller family. Standard Oil. The same company that caused us to get involved in World War II by cutting off the Japanese oil, which is why they attacked us at Pearl Harbor. He should have went to jail for war crime, because it was him doing that is what caused us to go cause the Emperor of Japan to get angry and attack us. Are you ready for economic revolution? The only way black people can get out of the situation we're in is to start putting our money together collectively. Are you man or woman enough to do that? I want to start with black men first, because black women will get on board if black men show some cojones and start standing up. See, a lot of you guys will send me an email talking about, hey, Ice, good video. This, hey, let me give you some dap. But I ain't gonna reach in my pocket to give you no money though. Let me explain something to you. If I didn't pay my cable, and if millions of folks out there didn't pay their cable bill, the CW will go out of business. NBC, CBS, and ABC won't go out of business. But these other little cable stations, like somebody well, BET might not, because they owned by Viacom. But some of these little stations, like CW or Spike TV, I think they got bought out by Paramount Channel. Spike TV, those little channels like that will go out of business if I didn't pay my cable bill. Do y'all get my meaning here? Because sometimes I really don't think you get it. And you don't have to go to college to get it. You don't need a college degree to understand what I'm saying to y'all. Some of y'all just stubborn and don't want to change your outlook. Black folks, have you had enough? Have you had enough? Because I've had enough 30 years ago. Let me explain something to you. Other races are mobilizing while you sit around and do nothing. They mobilize with their money. Let me explain something to you. The Me Too movement, they've raised over $100 million to pay for lawyers to sue these studios every time they do something. Did y'all know that? They've raised almost because it was $32 million about 2 months ago. That's what they call mobilization, because it includes monetization. You can't get name one movement in this country, and I'll tell you the only way that movement went forward was because some individuals collectively gave money to that cause. That's why every year I get on you guys' cases and I say, how many of you knuckleheads went out here and spent money on Black Friday or after Black Friday buying presents for relatives who don't like you anyway, just so you can help Target and Walmart and all these other folks make trillions of dollars every year. And I keep explaining year after year after year after year that we are making a mistake by celebrating a commercial holiday called Christmas that has absolutely nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with anything good. And it's also based on the Nimrod character from the Bible. Do your research. But every year, black folks blow trillions of dollars on Christmas. For what? You got stores like Kohl's, especially Kohl's, You got stores like Kohl's and some smaller retailers who don't make a profit until after Black Friday. Did y'all know that? I've told y'all that in many videos, that some of these retailers struggle all year. That's why when Thanksgiving comes around, they start advertising. Why do you think they do that? Why do you think they do that? They do that because they know they're not going to make a profit until between Black Friday and actually the first of the year, the next year. Because if they miss their projections, their stock prices go down. Did y'all know that? Because you got to understand, all of these companies like Target, Kohl's, they're publicly traded. And the entities that they legally answer to primarily is the shareholders, not you, the consumer. And what they end up doing is what? Because you are free flowing with your money and you don't care about black empowerment, every year they can count on your black dollars to keep them open. I plan on buying Dr. Claude Anderson's new book that he got out. But I had Powernomics, and I don't know what I did with Powernomics. But I plan on buying his latest book that he's got out right now. And I'm going to buy it directly from him because I want to cut out the middleman. I'm not buying it on Amazon. I'm going to go to Claude Anderson's Powernomics.com website, and I'm going to buy it directly from him. Because I want to put dollars in his pocket, even though he's a millionaire already. See, unlike a lot of y'all, I ain't no hater. I'm not jealous. I'm not envious of other people because I know I can go out here and do something. It's going to be different, but I can also plant my own flag. I don't have to sit up here and hate on Claude Anderson. We got to stop this jealousy and this envy, man. That's for women. Black men, I'm calling you to action. Stop giving people DAP and start reaching in your pocket supporting black-owned businesses. I could care less about your DAP. You don't have to send me an email. You don't have to send me unless you have something deep to say and you want to have a discussion privately. I don't have a problem with you emailing me. But, you know, for you to give me make a comment talking about great video. What's that, dude? And if you think that me and other folks, you tired of me and other folks stepping on your toes, selling products that you should be interested in buying if it's something you can use. If you're tired of hearing that, let me tell you something. Have you ever been somewhere where there's nothing but white people and there's a white guy or a white woman selling something? If you think I'm brutal and you're sick and tired of me stepping on your toes asking for support, oh, let me tell you something about white folks. White folks, they curse their people out. They'll be like, Bob, how come I didn't see you over at the car wash? Hey, what the hell happened? And Bob will be like the When white folks want their money from their own people, oh, they get it in. You ain't heard nothing. What I'm saying to you is mild. compared to most Caucasian folks when they deal with their own people about supporting something financially. See, black folks want to sit around and talk about, oh, that's good, let me pat you on the back, baby, you doing so good, baby. But then hand your money over to Caucasian people or some other race of people, and then get mad because they're beating your behind in the store. I seen that video of that Arab dude that owned that pizzeria beating that woman. I seen the video of that. I've also seen the video of that Korean guy that was beating on that black woman and had her in a headlock. I saw the video. This is what happens when you let colonizers into your home. When you let invaders and colonizers into your home, they're going to come in, take over, and then kick you off your own land. And the only way for you to get anything back is to cut their money off. The money that you would normally spend making them filthy rich, if you cut that money off, they would come begging. Economics are at the heart of every single facet of American society. And the problem is we don't see it. A lot of black people don't understand money. We don't understand how to manage it, and we don't understand how it works, and we don't understand that money buys influence. The reason why Maxine Waters can stand up there and lie and say she's going to do something about reparations and walk out of there safely without somebody throwing a shoe upside her head is because she know black folks don't require anything. We don't put together PACs, political action committees. We don't do any of that stuff. You want to meet some fine women? Put together a political action committee and set it up at one of these big Marriotts or Hyatts or whatever, and try to get try to go out here and get as many black millionaires or black well-to-do black business owners as possible into their PAC, and they got to spend at least $5,000 a plate to eat at the dinner. And while you got a captive audience, then you start talking to them about, hey, look here, people, we need to mobilize. Things are not getting done for African Americans. We need to make some changes. That's what happens at a political action committee conference. Money, millions of dollars get raised, and they come up with an end game. This is what we're going to do. We're going to shut these black people out. We're going to make sure we build more prisons to put their fathers, brothers, uncles, and grandfathers in. That's why we keep falling for the okie doke. We keep falling for all these hustles that the white supremacists keep coming up with. It ain't hard to understand. But we keep falling for the crap because we don't mobilize economically. You can't have a school without money. I remember I had this one idiot send me an email after I did a video on education. Leave a comment talking about, this is what this idiot said. This idiot had the nerve to say to me, because I was talking about private schools. This idiot said to me, it don't take any money to start and own a school. This is what this idiot said. I didn't even respond. Because this guy is too dumb to understand my response anyway. You can't start and run a school with no money. I have been tempted because there's a certain individual out here who has doctor in front of his name who, according to some folks, and actually according to a whole lot of folks, this individual raised $1 million and then ain't opened a school yet. You know, in almost every city I have either driven through or lived in the black neighborhoods and the Hispanic neighborhoods, they're closing schools. Why is that? Why is that? You know why they're closing them? Because the tax base that's there in those neighborhoods, they're not getting the tax money from those homes and those businesses. Because I think some commercial tax, property taxes goes to schools too. Because somebody owns those houses. Maybe the black people that rent in those houses are renting, but somebody owns those houses. And property taxes go up every year, especially in states where they don't charge state taxes, state income taxes. So the schools got to get their money from somebody, right? So they charge the property owners. They got to pay way more taxes than they would normally pay if the state collected income tax. I know the state of Oregon don't have an income tax. The state of Texas doesn't have an income tax, and that's why Texas schools are so poor. They're not closing any schools in white neighborhoods, people. They're closing them in black and brown neighborhoods. And they're going to keep doing it. There was a district that's down in South San Antonio. They was talking about, oh, we got to close 2 or 3 schools. And the parents were going up there to the board meetings raising Cain. But they still closed those schools because they couldn't keep them up. They could not justify keeping these schools open, because schools demand money. You need money to keep these schools open. Costs money to keep these schools open, people. And I thought about, because I drove through St. Louis a couple years back, and I heard and I was looking at the Vice channel, and they were talking about, they were showing all these black schools in the black neighborhoods, all these high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools that were closed, and some of them were falling apart. And I said to myself, and they were talking to some people on this one particular show called Abandoned. They haven't had any new episodes lately, but it said they were talking about that there was this one high school that closed, and they said that they were selling the high school, a whole high school. I don't know how many thousands of acres. They were selling the school for $200,000. $200,000, dude, for a property that in its prime was worth millions. And you mean to tell me this particular individual, I'm not going to name his name, he raised $1 million and he can't find a school? Nah. Now see, that guy is a charlatan. How many of you Negroes gave that fool some money so he can fly all around the world and have sex with prostitutes? Because that's all he's doing. Even his family done called him out. Man, let me tell you something. There's schools around this country, some of these black neighborhoods, especially places like Chicago and St. Louis, that because the schools are in black neighborhoods, they can't find buyers. But you could go to auction and probably get one of those schools. Probably buy a school on east side of Detroit for $50. Because don't nobody want to live in Detroit. I got an uncle that still lives there. He's an attorney. Talk about, man, there's so many vacant lots in Detroit. It's ridiculous. They still got some of them big old GM plants just sitting there, just trees growing all up and through the building. But nobody wants to buy them because they got to clean up all the chemicals. The cleanup and the tear down alone is going to cost millions. So nobody wants to buy those properties, even though they might only be selling them for $50,000. But still, that's an opportunity. If you got a few black folks together and everybody put up a few thousand and you bought it, and everybody roll up their sleeves and do some work instead of sitting around complaining and talking about white folks, it gets done. Something could get done. But we have this mentality of we'll just sit around and complain, and then we'll sit around and hate on people like the Iceman and hate on other folks, that brothers and sisters who are providing you with some content that'll help you get from point A to point B, but you hate on us. Oh, I don't like the fact that you took a call in the middle of your video, Iceman. Dude, if it was left up to me, I would fart while I'm doing this video and right in the camera so you can hear it. You're not paying any money to listen to this video. So what are you complaining about? You ain't put no money up. You ain't gave me no money to help me do no research to put this video together. So what are you complaining about? Man, you took a phone call while you was doing the video last week. So what? Are you ready for an economic revolution? Because let me tell you something. The way the white supremacists in the White House is acting today, people, we are being put in a position where we need to make something happen. We need to make something happen. Because talking about stuff is not fixing it. We need to start putting some money up. And a lot of, you know what? I was talking to somebody the other day. And they were saying, if other races of people fiddle-faddled around and played around and shucked and jived like black folks do, they'd be in the same position we're in. Now, true enough, a lot of these immigrants and first-generation born Americans and their families, yeah, we're doing better than them economically, because most of us only have one adult or two adults in the house, where with them, they got 4 or 5 adults in the house. We're still in a better economic position, even with all our foolishness, we're still in a better economic position than they are. The difference is the media doesn't tell the truth. We all see what I loved about where the position the media is in today is, remember when we had this past election with Donald Trump, and they got on there and did all their predictions and all this Gallup poll and that poll and this research poll, and then the day of the actual election, all their numbers were off, weren't they? Because they predicted that most college-educated white females, or most white females that made at least $50,000 and above, were going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And who did they end up voting for? 54% of all white women in this country voted for Trump. Don't let that fact slip through your hands or slip through your fingers. Because a lot of white females even said the main reason why they voted for Trump was because Trump took a position that, hey, I represent the average white supremacists in this country, and they like that. And you can't really listen to nothing these women, on these feminists, on these so-called left-leaning channels like CNN and MSNBC. You can't believe nothing they say. These women make $2 or $3 million a year. You think they voted for Hillary? They're actors. They're not news people. They're not news journalists. They're actors. That's all they are. They're nothing but actors, clowns. But they ain't going to tell you how they voted. Most white women in this country didn't like Hillary, and they still don't like Hillary. Yet they probably bought her book. They probably bought one of her jive books. But they didn't support Hillary because she was disrespectful toward women. Talking about, if you expect me to be sitting around making my husband cookies, that I'm not that kind of wife. Hey, let me tell you something. A lot of these white women remember that statement that she made back when Bill Clinton was president, or when he was on the campaign trail. I think she made that cookie comment after he was president. Let me tell y'all something. A lot of, like, that welfare bill and that child support bill and that crime bill, a lot of those policies came from Hillary. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of that private prison stuff and all that stuff, that was Hillary's doing. And Bill Clinton, being the simp that he is, he went ahead and put that stuff through. Why? Because, let me tell you something. Hillary Clinton knew Bill Clinton had been cheating all them years. She knew about all the whispers and all the women that Bill Clinton was messing around with, black and white. She knew about that stuff. And to keep from having his family implode, he did her bidding for her. Think about it. Welfare to work, child support omnibus act. Child support is a state thing. Is a state measure. It shouldn't be federal. And they talking about, oh, we care about the Constitution. No, they don't. Child support is a $500 billion surplus to all of these county and state governments. It's a money grab, and they don't give a damn about these kids, which you already know that anyway. Are you ready for an economic revolution? Do you have the discipline that when Black Friday comes along in 2018, later on this year, that you're going to stand with me and say, you know what? White daddy and white mommy ain't getting my money this year. How many of you have the courage and the intestinal fortitude to stand with me, the Iceman, and say, hey, we're not giving no money to Kohl's and Target and Walmart and them, other than us getting the supplies that stuff that we normally get from these stores. How many of you are going to be how many of you black men and women are going to be man and woman about yours and be about black empowerment and stand with me and boycott Black Friday and in the holiday season? Because let me tell you something. If you save that money, you won't have to worry about when the first week of January come around that you got to worry about paying them credit cards that you done ran up trying to give somebody a Merry Christmas. Don't go and give a flying hootenanny about you. I had these cousins that lived in Compton. We used to go over their house later on Christmas. And by the time we went over there on Christmas and spent 2 or 3 hours, my cousins would be them broke their toys already. And then they whining to their mom, to my aunt, talking about, we need to buy me another dog because I broke mine. Y'all see where I'm going with this? We got to get our collective economic game together, people, because we have the opportunity. A lot of more black folks are starting to wake up and they realize that we got an individual in the White House that is about setting back the clock on black people in America. He wants to reset the clock back to the 1500s if he can get away with it. Do y'all want to see that happen? I'm not saying that white supremacy is on the ropes, but it has been exposed for what it is. And it shows how desperate that Trump's base is in this country. First of all, population-wise, their numbers are not what they should be, because when you put a whole bunch of people with recessive genes in a gene pool, they start canceling each other out. And that's why you see a lot of these white couples get together and they can't have no kids. Either one of them is sterile or both of them are sterile. And you would be surprised how many white couples can't have children. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just telling the truth. But it's also God's way of trying to balance out the population. Some people will be able to have children. Some people will not. But it's very easy for us to have children. I've seen black men into their 80s still getting women pregnant. How many Caucasian men do you know can still do that? Very few of them. Maybe that one 90-some-year-old retired postal worker that said he fathered over 1,600 children between the late 1940s up until the 1970s, and he didn't pay a dime of child support. But yet they love to put black men on blast. They're black men that don't pay enough child support. They shouldn't have to. Because all child support is for a single mom is all you're doing is fueling and paying for her extravagant lifestyle. You're paying for her to get her nails done. You're paying for her to get her hair done. You're paying for her to get a mani-pedi. You're paying for her to get hot stones put on her back, while you sit up there and slave and work 12-hour days trying to pay your child support and have some money left over to pay your bills. And then on top of that, she's going to try to keep you from seeing your children. Better get on out of here with that nonsense. You're going to pay. Child support ain't nothing but a mechanism for single moms to be able to, for you to pay them to go out here and live reckless. Pay them to go out here and have more children by other baby daddies. Pay for them. Really what you're paying, what we're paying for when we pay child support? We're paying for these single moms to be promiscuous. Because remember I told y'all how I've dated women who have gotten their child support when they were still cutting child support checks. I've had women get their child support check and then sign it, put it in the bank, and then take the money out of their account and hand it to me. That's when I was back doing my finesse pimping. I don't do that no more. I told you I'm out of that game. I ain't out here, a real man doesn't hustle money. Doesn't hustle women for money. And at that time, I was desperate. I was desperate. I was on them streets. So I was desperate. So I was using my male appendage downstairs to get over on women. Because one thing, the one talent I definitely have that, I am, there's one talent that I have that has worked very useful for me back in the day when I was out there on them streets doing wrong, was being able to hypnotize the ladies with my male appendage. I never had a problem doing that. But I ain't living like that no more. That's living foul. I don't live foul like that no more. I'm about self-empowerment and getting myself together. But now that I've done that, the only thing for me to worry about is keeping my health right. But I'm also concerned about the state of Black America, and that's why I keep hammering home to you guys in your eardrums. What's the end game? Are you ready for an economic revolution? And if so, are you ready when that dog whistle, when you hear that dog whistle, are you going to be ready? When we go hootie hoo, are you going to be ready? Are you going to be ready? Or are you going to be buck dancing and clowning and begging white daddy and white mama for a butter biscuit? We got to get out of that, man. We got to stop begging other folks to take care of our house. Our house must be maintained by us. Right now, black people in America are walking across the street to the Caucasian people's house and asking them, hey, can we live with you? Can we eat off your plate? And what does white daddy and white mama say? No, but you can have these scraps. And for the last 50 years, we've been happy with scraps. That the time has come for us to stop playing. Instead of giving me dap and saying, hey, good video, why don't you take that energy to reach in your pocket, pull out that debit card and that credit card, and go out here and support a black business. You don't, but also respect what I'm doing. Because there's been a lot of people who send me emails over the years that say, Iceman, I respect your tough love, and you helped me get myself together. I was one of these guys mean mugging and complaining about your videos because I wasn't doing nothing but laying up on my behind, living off my female relatives. And one day I decided I was going to stop doing that. And I got myself together. Hey, Iceman, here's $100. Okay? There's been a few black men who have said, hey man, look, what do you need, ICE? They sent me email. Hey, ICE, what do you need? You need me to pay for your cell bill? I said, dude, I don't need you to pay my cell bill. I just need you to donate money to my nonprofit so I can take that money and go help our people. Because when I drive around here in Portland, you know who I see? Yes, a lot of young white people out here who are on drugs and out there clowning. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of black men, especially black men out here, that are homeless. Same thing with San Antonio. 80% of all homeless people in America are black. Did y'all know that? That's not a good graphic, people. So I'm going to ask you again. Are you ready? Are you going to be serious enough? And are you going to be disciplined enough for an economic revolution? Because no movement is free. Real information is not free, people. Real information and black empowerment costs money. Nothing is free. You need to get your mindset off that. Especially some of you black men ought to be embarrassed that you got non-black people out donating you. Okay? I got white people breaking bread because they support what I talk about. And here you are, a black person, look just like me, and you are, instead of supporting me financially, you would rather be a hater and say, oh man, he ain't making funny videos no more. Man, the hell with the ICE man. But yet I got Asian people, I got Caucasian people donating more money than y'all do. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You guys ought to be collectively ashamed of yourselves. The reason why white police officers keep shooting and killing us, because you cannot punish them. Just like you cannot, because you continue to reward them with free billions and trillions of dollars every year. But you cannot punish them. I looked at a video last night, and I forgot what city it was, and I inferred that it was a Hispanic woman that the cop pulled over. But anyway, he pulls this woman over, this lieutenant. This guy's a lieutenant, and the woman wouldn't put her hands down. She had her hands up on the steering wheel, and the police officer said, hey, you need to grab your, I guess her phone was ringing or something. And she said no. And he said, why not? She said, because I don't want to get shot. And the white police officer said, well, and he's saying it sarcastically, but what they say about sarcasm, there's still an ounce of truth in it. He says, well, you're not black. What are you worried about? He said, you're not black. He said, we only kill black people. Only black people have been getting killed by the police, right? These white police officers that killed this young brother in Sacramento, ain't nothing gonna happen to them. But yet the Muslim brother, the Somali brother, the cop, Muhammad Noor, no, he had to resign from his police officer job with the Minneapolis Police Department for unintentionally shooting that Australian white woman. Demond is the last name. Do you know the Hennepin County District Attorney just indicted him on murder charges? I think second-degree murder and I think third-degree manslaughter. I think they gave him 2 charges. But I guarantee, I'm willing to bet he's not going to get convicted. Because them Somalians, I'm going to tell you something about them Somalians in Minneapolis. That's the largest population of Somalis. They not going, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to act a fool. They're going to act a fool if he goes to prison. Because it's bad enough that he's been charged with murder. It was an accident. Because had he been a white dude, nothing would have happened. We wouldn't even heard about it. But they're going to sit up here and charge him with murder, but yet the cops that killed Jamar Clark back in 2015, they didn't do anything to them cops. It was an accident. Talk about, well, it was a good shooting. See how they deal with us? Your and my lives don't matter. Our lives don't matter to these people. But if we do something to them, even if it's an accident, we go to prison. Or they're going to try to put us in prison. Matter of fact, they put us in prison. Hopefully, the Somalis will mobilize in Minneapolis and make an example out of the district attorney and his minions. But they just posted that online last week that he got indicted for murder. Yet in Ramsey County, south of Minneapolis, what happened with Philando Castile? That cop got back pay. That St. Michael's cop, St. Anthony, I think that city's called St. Anthony. That's a racist area down there. Well, I never really messed around too much around in southern Ramsey County. They didn't do anything to that cop. He didn't go to jail, did he? And yet he intentionally shot and killed Philando Castile. That's what happens, black folks, when people are not scared of you. That's what happens when you're not collectively on code. That's what happens when you don't have an economic base that you can draw from. So when they do something to one of us, we all get on code, because when they do something to one of us, they're doing something to all of us. But see, most of y'all don't think like that, because a lot of y'all have come from these single female-headed households where you think like a woman. And you think somebody owe you something. That's why it's not uncommon to see young black men living off of women. Had some brother tell me he a vet, and he talking about, man, I was staying with a chick, and I guess they had words according to him, and he said the woman took him to court and filed a domestic violence case against him. So he ended up catching a case. Let me say something to you young brothers. Y'all, you stop trying to live off these women, man. When you live with a woman and you ain't paying any bills and all you just providing is weenie, I'm going to tell you something, man. She going to end up throwing you out of there. Okay? She's going to end up kicking you out of her crib. Let me explain something to you. When you guys, those of you who don't know any better, those of you who know any better, this doesn't apply to you. But those of you who know better, who don't know better, listen to me. If you get a domestic violence, just getting charged with domestic violence, I'm not talking about necessarily getting a conviction. Even if you get charged with domestic violence, you cannot rent an apartment, at least not in a good neighborhood, and you cannot buy a firearm. Let me say this again. Even if you just get charged with domestic violence, no one will rent to you. Now, if you get a conviction, it's even worse. If somebody sent me somebody posted something on one of my videos, somebody they got convicted of domestic violence, and they said the woman of domestic violence and domestic battery, and he said the woman didn't have no marks or nothing on her. First of all, I don't believe that. Let me explain something to you. In order you to get, let me tell you something. Simple assault is arguing. That's a misdemeanor, people. Let me tell you something. In the state of Michigan, if you argue with a woman, if she calls the police, if someone else calls the police and you're arguing, you can get 6 months, up to 6 months in jail for simple assault. These laws are on the books for black men because they know we get disrespected on a daily basis. And when you get disrespected and you're emotional, what is the first thing you're going to do? You're going to throw balls. Somebody going to get knocked out. And they know that. So I'm going to say this again. If you get charged and convicted, because you don't get charged, you don't get convicted of domestic battery without there being a mark. This guy was lying. I know this guy wasn't telling the truth. And the way he explained things, it sounded to me like he was probably trying to live off this chick. You brothers, y'all got to stop living off these women, man. Because, yeah, some of these women are lonely at first, and they say, oh, I'll let this guy live with me, but I guarantee after 2 or 3 days, she is sick of you. But at least if you paying half the bills or paying all the bills, she'll tolerate you. You have to understand about American women. American women are so delusional, and they all think that they got some kind of a JJ power over us. They got this huge ego. That they can do anything they want to you and with you. That's how they think. American women tolerate us. And I'm not just talking about the good looking ones. Even some of the busted looking ones that are 1s, 2s, and 3s and 4s. Some of those women still think they got some kind of power over us. If you don't believe me, go on plentyoffish.com and pick 10 profiles of even fat women who have the nerve to try to talk about, oh, I ain't gonna tolerate getting with nobody that don't have no money. Don't have me meeting at Starbucks. And here this woman, fat as all outside. Some of these women are so fat, they're too wide for the picture. And yet they're on there talking about what they ain't going to tolerate. American women tolerate, especially black men. But as long as you are footing the bill and tricking your money off, they'll let you hang around for a while. But if you're going to move up in their house and not spend no money, or you ain't got no money, oh, they're going to get rid of you. Oh, they're going to get rid of you, player. I have another question for y'all tonight, black folks. Have you had enough? Huh? We've been having more brothers and sisters get killed by white police officers. I'm so tired of it. I'm delirious about it. I'm delirious from it. Are you? Because these white supremacists are just getting started. If you think you think that they're gonna ramp down killing us and putting us in prison, you got another thing coming. You got this white supremacist in Austin, Texas, killing black folks with bombs. And the only reason why a Hispanic woman got hurt is because he picked the wrong house. See, I know Austin. I used to live in Austin. Austin's got some racist people up there. They got racist police too. I had a white police officer. I'm about a block away from my apartment. This cop gonna give me a ticket. He gonna give me a speeding ticket, and he's behind, and I'm behind him. I wasn't even in the same lane he was in. He gonna sit up. He sees me behind him. He gonna wait till I pass him. Then he didn't wait till I passed him. I had to get over because I had to make a turn, and he slows up, gets behind me, and pulls me over. And I said, he was like, "Hey, you know why I pulled you over?" I said, "No." He said, "You were speeding." And I asked him, I said, "With all due respect, officer, how can you know I'm speeding and I was behind you in a lane over from you?" And he turned beet red and just snatched my driver's license from me and gave me a ticket. That kind of stuff is going to continue to happen, black folks, because nobody in America is scared of you, because they know all you're going to do is stand around and hold your male appendages, complaining about the white man, talking about how big some white woman's behind is, and that's all you're going to do. You're not going to mobilize. You're going to hate on other black men that get themselves together, which you could very well do the same, but you would rather trick your money off and do nothing. Meanwhile, they're mobilizing and building their economic base so that they can take over your communities, which they've already done. But I'm your enemy. Or black men like myself are your enemy. I'm not your enemy, dog. Never have been. Never will be. Again, are you ready for an economic revolution? Are you sick and black folks? Have you had enough? Are you sick and tired yet? Huh? Are you? Are you gonna, when Black Friday 2018 come around, are you gonna do the same thing you did last year and the year before that and the year before that? Talk a good game. Yeah, good video, Ice Man. Yeah. White Jesus. Yeah, screw white Jesus. Screw Christmas. And then secretly you over here spending $1,200 on gifts for your family. Some of y'all even still go to church on Sunday. You're a hypocrite, man. Have you had enough? Do you understand that economic empowerment is the only way we can fix these problems in our neighborhoods? When they close these schools, we should be able to move right in and fix those schools, buy those schools, fix them up and turn them into black charter schools. But we don't do that because we would rather buy Jordans and LeBrons and trick our money off at the comedy club and at the strip club. Black men in Atlanta are spending so much money on on strippers that you got strippers in Atlanta that got publicists. Yet you go to our communities and you got houses falling over, you got houses abandoned, and none of these drug dealers and none of these heavy hitters, none of these ballers are taking any of their money and fixing up our communities, our neighborhoods, because there ain't no communities. Have you had enough? Are you ready finally to start black empowerment? Are you going to stand with the Iceman and boycott this year's holiday season and keep your money in your pocket and maybe take the money you were going to spend, blow on, trick off at the strip club or on Christmas gifts, that you're going to take that money and invest it in yourself, open an IRA account and put some money in there? Put that $1,500 in there instead of wasting it on a stripper who ain't gonna never give you any. Have you had enough? Huh? Or are you gonna still let another year go by where you just playing and clowning while we at war with these white supremacists? Here they are bombing our people and shooting our people in the street. And most of y'all still sitting around playing. You out here trying to live off a woman, and then when the woman get tired of you, then you want to put your hands on her. And then when she called a popo out there to go out there and take care of your behind, when you go to court, you get convicted because you were in the wrong place at the you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. You should have had your own damn place. Instead of sitting up here trying to live off some fat black woman you done met at a church somewhere that you thought was soft. All these women want money from a man. I don't care if they got a good job or not. They all want money from us. And there ain't nothing you can do to change that other than to keep your money in your pocket like I do. I don't even spend 1% of my monthly income on women because I don't deal with women who want to get in my pocket. I deal with women who got their own money. I ain't even going to waste my time dealing with a woman that's going to sit up there and talk greasy to me or talk reckless about the mouth, talking about what I need to pay for. I wish one of these dirty harlots would step to me and say something stupid like that. But see, they ain't gonna step to no real man like me and say nothing greasy like that. But they'll say that to you because you ain't got no money. You tune into the Iceman Show. I'm your host, the Iceman. Go to AskTheIceman.com for psychotherapy packages, business consulting packages, and business plans for your business. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Freeze, The Iceman Show. You can also follow me on Instagram, The Iceman Show. Follow me on Instagram, man. Trying to get my following up. If you are on a job and you want to possibly make some moves on what you need to do, hire me to be your life coach. I'll help you out. I'll get you back on track. I have clients that just need, I got clients male and female. I got divorcees. I've had a couple women hire me to say, look, I just went through a divorce. I'm really heartbroken right now. I don't really need any psychotherapy, but I do need a life coach. I need you to help me out. No problem. Let me help you get you back on track. Man, black folks, we got to stop suffering in silence. Black empowerment, economic base, black first. You tune into the Iceman Show. I'm your host, the Iceman. Oh, by the way, if you want to listen to some of my old shows, go to Blog Talk Radio /The Iceman Show. Go to blogtalkradio.com and look for the Iceman Show and listen to some of my old shows from 2011 and 2012. All right, holla at your boy.